who work to protect our nuclear weapons, keep our planes from crashing, and conduct the research that finds the cure for cancer.
I'm a Democrat.
Only to rehire them 2 days later?
I'm a Democrat, and I love cutting government waste. Please, I love firing federal.
So we've talked about economic security.
I love firing federal workers. Just give me the job. I'm Elisa Slotkin.
As someone who spent my...
Let's get the Bernard Sanders.
Say something that is grossly false, say it over and over again, and have right-wing social media blast it out endless times until people actually believe it. And then, rather than address the real issues facing the American people, the struggles that the American people are facing, we find ourselves wasting endless amounts of time discussing Trump's absurdities. Let me just give you a very few examples. Trump claimed that the 2020 election was stolen from him and that he won by a landslide. Remember that? A lie. Trump claimed that the January 6th insurrection was a day of love. A lie. Trump has claimed that millions of undocumented people voted,
bro,
and do vote in American elections. A lie.
Let
Trump
this man sleep, man. Oh my God, I feel bad.
Originating in China. A lie. Trump has claimed that Ukraine started the horrific war with Russia. A lie. And tonight, just tonight, Trump claimed that millions of dead people between the ages of 100 and 360, I guess, were collecting Social Security checks. And that is an outrageous lie intended to lay the groundwork for cuts to Social Security and dismantling the most successful and popular government program in history. So let's be clear about that. Well over 99% of Social Security checks are going out to people who earned those checks. 70 million Americans. Nobody who was 150 years old or 200 years old or 300 years old is receiving Social Security checks. And on the lies go. Now, the purpose of all of this lying is not just to push his hateful right-wing ideology. It is not just to try to divide us up. It is more than that. It is a masterful effort, and you saw that tonight, to deflect attention away from the most important issues facing the people of our country. Issues that Trump and his billionaire friends do not want to address because it is not in their financial interest. Trump gave his State of the Union speech tonight. But if you listen closely, that speech had very little to say about the State of the Union, about what is really going on in our country, especially for working families. Trump spoke for over 90 minutes, although I must confess it seemed a lot longer than that, and he almost completely ignored the issues that are keeping working people up at night as they worry about how their families are going to survive in these very tough times. And I will tell you exactly why Trump had very little to say about the real crises facing the working class of this country. Think back 6 weeks ago when Trump was inaugurated for his second term as president, just 6 weeks ago. Standing right behind him were the three wealthiest men in this country, Mr. Musk, Mr. Bezos, and Mr. Zuckerberg. And standing behind them were 13 other billionaires who Trump had nominated to head major government agencies. Many of these same billionaires, including Musk, were in the Capitol tonight listening to that speech. In other words, it is there for all to see. The Trump administration is not hiding it. The Trump administration is a government of the billionaire class, by the billionaire class, and for the billionaire class. Notwithstanding some of their rhetoric, this is a government that could care less about ordinary Americans and the working families of our country. My friends, we are no longer moving toward oligarchy. We are living in an oligarchic society. Now let's take a moment and try to escape from Trump's parallel universe, the universe that you heard tonight. And let's do something really, really radical. Let's actually take a hard look at the problems that Americans are facing. Today, 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Unlike Trump, I grew up in a family that lived paycheck to paycheck, and I know something about that reality. It means that every day, millions of Americans worry about how they're going to pay their rent, pay for childcare, pay for a doctor's visit when they get sick. They worry about what happens when their car breaks down and they can't afford the $1,000 it costs to get it fixed, and what happens when they can't get to work because they don't have a car. They worry about how they can afford to buy healthy food for their kids when the price of food is off the charts. Funny? I heard Trump speaking for 90 minutes tonight. I didn't hear one word from him about the economic reality facing 60% of our people, or the enormous stress that they are living under. 90-minute speech, not one word about the economic reality facing American workers. But that's not all. Today
AOC
in America,
is live as well.
Everyone knows that our healthcare system is broken. It is dysfunctional, and it is outrageously expensive. We remain the only wealthy nation on earth not to guarantee health care for all.
I just
Mr. President,
felt
you really want to make America great again? Then make sure that
I
every
didn't
American
feel like I could.
Let's hear what AOC has to say. I've heard Bernie Sanders. He's saying the same stuff he's been saying.
That being said, you know, I know different people had different takes on it. In terms of the House of Representatives, you know, I'll give you an alternative perspective. In terms of the House of Representatives, you know, some people feel, and it is true, that the State of the Union occurs in the House of Representatives, known as the People's House. And technically, in terms of the proceedings of the State of the Union, an interesting thing about the House is that it is different chamber in that only House members are typically allowed in the House of Representatives. So
I'm not gonna lie.
Anybody
I mean,
else that is brought
before
into
people
the
say,
House,
"Oh, AOC's weak" or whatever, I mean,
has to be invited. And,
virtually everyone is just
so Trump
doing their best, but not very strong against Trump at this point.
Floor in order to be allowed into the House floor. Same thing with all those senators and the cabinet members, etc. So, you know, I think other people had a certain logic, which is that this is the people's house, and Trump showing up should not kind of force the duly elected representatives of that chamber, especially those who disagree with him, out. So, you know, that was that's some of the perspective there. Anyways, I watched from home, and if you did, if you didn't, honestly, and I listen to Trump. I do, because he has won 2 presidential elections. Now, the first one was not by popular vote, and the second vote, he has not won more than 50% of the U.S. electorate, but he has won these elections nevertheless. So I listen to him. I listen to what he says.
Then they should.
As an observer.
During his speech tonight, Trump did not have one word to say about how we are going to address the planetary crisis of climate change. The last 10 years, as most Americans know, have been the warmest ever recorded, and extreme weather disturbances and natural disasters have been taking place all over the world, from California to India, across Europe to North Carolina. And yet, not surprisingly, Trump had nothing to say about climate change except, I guess, drill, baby, drill. Well, that's going to help a whole lot. And let's be clear. Not only did Trump fail to talk about some of the most important issues facing the working class of America, but the solutions, in quote, he proposed would only make a bad situation even worse. Yep, I did hear Trump talk tonight about some tax breaks for working families in terms of not taxing tips, not taxing Social Security, and not taxing overtime. Fine. But that is chump change compared to the benefits he's going to give to the 1%, and it doesn't tell the whole story about his tax policies. According to a recent study by the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy, if all of Trump's so-called America
we can't have the top people that are resisting Donald Trump and the Democratic Party be people like Bernie Sanders. No disrespect to Bernard, but he's so old.
While the richest 5% in our country will see their taxes go down, way down. Tonight, in so many words, Trump urged Congress to pass his big, beautiful budget. Do you know what's really in it? This budget would cut Medicaid by $880 billion. Oh, I guess Trump forgot to talk about that. $880 billion cut in Medicaid. According to one estimate, it means that up to 36 million Americans, including millions of children, would be thrown off the health insurance they have. Hey, a 90-minute speech tonight, not one word about throwing millions of kids off of the health insurance they have. When you cut Medicaid drastically, it means that nursing homes that receive 2/3 of their funding from Medicaid will either have to shut down, lay off workers, or significantly scale back the services they provide.
I do want to hear Elisa Slotkin's retort here. This is what the Democratic response is.
No oversight, no protections
just
against
for a brief
cyber attack,
moment.
no guardrails on what they do with your private data. We need a more efficient government. You want to cut waste? I'll help you do it. But change doesn't need to be chaotic or make us less
I'm Brian,
safe.
kill me.
The mindless firing of people who work to protect our nuclear weapons, keep our planes from crashing, and conduct the research that finds the cure for cancer.
I'm a Democrat.
Only to rehire them 2 days later.
I'm a Democrat, and I love cutting government waste. Please, I love firing federal.
So we've talked about economic security.
I love firing federal workers. Just give me the job. I'm Elisa Slotkin.
As someone who spent my whole career protecting our homeland, every country deserves to know who and what is coming across its border. Period. Democrats and Republicans should all be for that.
Oh, my God.
But securing the border without actually fixing our broken immigration system is dealing with the symptom and not the disease. America is a nation of immigrants. We need a functional system keyed to the needs of our economy that allows vetted people to come and work here legally. So I look forward to the president's plan on that. Because here's the thing. Today's world is deeply interconnected. Migration, cyber threats, AI, environmental destruction, terrorism. One nation cannot face these issues alone. We need friends in all corners, and our safety depends on it. President Trump loves to say peace through strength. That's actually a line he stole from Ronald Reagan. But let me tell you, after the spectacle that just took place in the Oval Office last week, Reagan must be rolling in his grave.
I hope he is.
We all want an end to the war
He's the devil. Why would a former CIA agent hype up Ronald Reagan? Fuck Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan can suck my dick.
Moral clarity.
Fuck you.
And that scene in the Oval Office wasn't just a bad episode of reality TV.
Oh no, Ronald Reagan is rolling his grave. I piss on his grave. What the fuck's wrong with this person?
He believes in cozying up to dictators like Vladimir Putin and kicking our friends like the Canadians in the teeth. He sees American leadership as merely a series of real estate transactions. As a Cold War kid, I'm thankful it was Reagan and not Trump in office in the 1980s. Trump would have lost us the Cold War. Donald Trump's actions suggest that in his heart, he doesn't believe we're an exceptional nation. He clearly doesn't think we should lead the world. Look, America is not perfect, but I stand with the majority of Americans who believe we are still exceptional, unparalleled. And I would rather have American leadership over Chinese or Russian leadership any day of the week. Because for generations, America has offered something better. Our security and our prosperity, yes, but our democracy, our very system of government.
If she doesn't bring up Medicaid cuts, I'm done.
Right now,
I can't say what I'm thinking because I will get banned again instantly, okay? I don't care about American hegemonic power. No, stop. No one cares about foreign policy. Please just talk about cost of living. Please talk about the egg prices.
But it's also at risk.
Talk about the egg prices, you fucking idiot. Talk about the egg prices. Talk about federal employees getting fired. Talk about the evisceration of the last bastion of middle-class jobs with good benefits. Please, talk about SNAP. Talk about Medicaid. Anything.
Those rights and the fight for them make us.
She's like, we gotta do NATO!
We're a nation of strivers,
Jack!
risk takers, innovators, and we are never satisfied. That is America's superpower. And look, I've lived and worked in many countries. I've seen democracies flicker out. I've seen what life is like when a government is rigged. You can't open a business without paying off a corrupt official. You can't criticize the guys in charge without getting a knock at the door in the middle of the night. So as much as we need responsive to our lives today, don't for one moment fool yourself that democracy isn't precious and worth saving. But how do we actually do that? I know a lot of you have been asking that question. First, don't tune out. It's easy to be exhausted. But America needs you now more than ever. If previous generations had not fought for this democracy, where would we be today? Second, hold your elected officials, including me, accountable. Watch how they're voting. Go to town halls and demand they take action. That's as American as apple pie. Third, organize. Pick just one issue you're passionate about and engage. And doom scrolling doesn't count. Join a group that cares about your issue and act. And if you can't find one, start one. Some of the most important movements in our history have come from the bottle up. In closing,
bottle up.
We all know that our country is going through something right now. We're not sure what the next day is going to hold.
Organize so we can fucking yell at you when you demand we do stuff.
The first time we've experienced significant
organize like the Black Lives Matter movement so that we can fucking
student of history.
Humiliate you every step of the way and tell you you are not getting any of your demands.
And ultimately, we've chosen to keep changing this country for the better. But every single time, we've only gotten through those moments because of two things.
Organize. So I, former CIA agent, can infiltrate your movement and and put you in jail. Organize. Oops, don't organize in a radical socialist kind of way.
So thank you tonight for caring about your country. Just by watching, you qualify as engaged citizens. And I promise that I
organize like the student protesters in my state that went to jail.
To be the principled leaders that you deserve. Good night, everyone.
Bro, okay, here's the thing, okay? This was a classic, well-spoken, boring ass, I want to do homework ass Democratic speech, okay? Donald Trump is over there juggling on stage, okay? He's doing tricks. He's like pulling up flashcards. He's got pizzazz. He's like, we're going to kill every transgender Guatemalan migrant. And here is a victim of transgender Guatemalan migrant crime. Okay. He's dumbing down the rhetoric. One, because he's dumb. And two, because, I mean, he's a television guy. Okay. Meanwhile, Democrats are like, I want to cut government. I hate wasteful spending in the federal government. Do not concede on your opponent's framing, okay? Do not do that. Do not do that. Do not ever do that. Why are you doing that? Why are you handing it to the Republicans? What's wrong with you? It's like, I just don't understand it.
Of hiding under the covers. The stakes are just too high. Let us never forget, real change only occurs when ordinary people stand up by the millions against oppression and injustice and fight back. That is the history of the founding of our nation, when brave men and women took on the mighty, invincible British Empire. It is the history of the abolitionist movement, the history of the labor movement, the history of the civil rights movement, the women's movement, the environmental movement, and the gay rights movement. Yes.
Bernie's woke and gay.
The oligarchs are enormously powerful. I deal with them every day. I know that. Yes, they have endless amounts of money. Yes, they control our economy, and they own much of the media. They have enormous influence over our political system. But from the bottom of my heart, I am convinced
Bernie was there when the American Revolution happened. Put some respect on it.
If we stand together and not let them divide us up by the color of our skin, or where we were born, or our religion, or the language we speak, or our sexual orientation. If we bring our people together around an agenda that works for the many and not just the few, there is nothing in the world that can stop us. We can win. We will win. Let us go forward together. Thank you all very much.
How is this, like, I'm sorry, I love Bernie, but god damn, we got like the only coherent response is coming from an 800-year-old man. Like,
lost and defeated by Donald Trump.
It's
today,
just,
it looks to me like they're even more lost and even more defeated than when this speech started.
Well, there was a clear juxtaposition. So I thought,
I hate this asshole. I hate that CNN just brings him on to just gloat about how sick the Republicans are over and over again.
we saw the theatrics tonight in the chamber are not being well received. And as we saw recently at the DNC candidate forum, it didn't sound like that. It didn't sound like pocketbook issues. It didn't sound like saying, you know, my neighbors might support Trump, but that doesn't mean you're a bad person. They continually elevate people who are leaning, as Republicans have, but into the name calling, into the demonizing and filing articles of impeachment a few weeks in. If Democrats talk like Alyssa Slotkin, they're going to win.
Maybe they'll save that. I don't know.
Certainly people don't. So just 1 second. Certainly people who don't like name calling would have gravitated to the president's speech tonight.
Yeah, I guess
like it
I
on
just
either
think
side.
that they're
talking about the optics.
Like, Donald Trump just gave a campaign speech in the joint address. It was not a unifying speech, and I don't really think that a lot of people want that version of what Alyssa Slotkin just gave. Oh, really? I think we're past that.
Damn, they're ripping into Alyssa Slotkin. Okay.
Maybe we could. She started her telling her personal story working for a Democrat and a Republican, growing up in a household, Democrat and a Republican, winning a district, Democrat and Republican. But that you wouldn't know that from Donald Trump's speech tonight. He's not talking Democrat and Republicans. I'm not going to say what the Democrats did tonight was, it didn't feel like a cohesive strategy, walking out, staying in, paddles, whatever. That was not how you land the plane. But I do think she laid out the issues that are important to people, and she told people what to do. I don't think this problem, honestly, in the Democratic Party is going to be solved in Washington, D.C. It's going to be solved in the middle of the country, in the South, where people are going to organize together and tell the party what they want and the direction they want to go.
Let's bring in Doug Brinkley into our conversation, presidential historian. Doug, you know, it is unprecedented. It's not just in the length of the speech that we just watched from the president. Now we, of course, just saw the Democratic rebuttal from Senator Slotkin. But it was also the disarray among the Democratic response. And how unprecedented was this moment that we just sat through? Anybody who sat through and watched the entire thing?
I think President Trump did what he needed to do. But as Senator Slotkin just pointed out, the economic issues weren't really talked about. I mean, the big concern right now is Medicaid and Medicare, Social Security, what Trump's going to do The fact that Wall Street is just diving right now, if he refuses to budge on these tariffs, the chance of the matter is you're going to start losing momentum. But Trump seemed relaxed. He had I think, a better night than the Democrats. They were like just, I guess, everybody left to their own. I mean, Senator Wyden made right to stay in Oregon and do town halls. However, Slotkin pulled a rabbit out of her hat. That was a very brilliant, relaxed response. And Andy Beshear and her should be the voices, I think, coming from the heartland of America. And I think Donald Trump left farmers from the speech a little bit out of it in a way that he needed to address them as a group in a more upbeat way instead of saying suffer some more pain, it'll be slow.
Well, when it started out, so anybody watching at the beginning, there was that complete sort of that chaotic moment. And Al Green is stabbing his cane into the air, and then it appears to be over something with Medicaid. And
I'm willing to bet every single normal human actually likes what Al Green did, and the Democrats are going to make it seem like he was really fucked up for doing so.
A moment like that, we talk about the "you lie."
Yeah, Al Green demonstrated courage. Yes, he waved his fucking cane around and was screaming about Medicaid. Okay, that's what every Democrat should be doing. The fuck is wrong with these people? Every Democrat should be standing up and being like, "You want to cut Medicaid over my fucking dead body?" Okay, yeah, he was awesome. He was dope. That's my expectation. Why the fuck is it an 800-year-old man from Houston that is leading the charge here and virtually alone? Not the I'm back and apolitical now. Okay, no longer am I apolitical, okay? Fuck civility. What do you mean? It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
Democrats can score points on.
All right. Well, Doug, just coming back here to the group here, David, when we were discussing, what percent, someone can go through and parse what percent he talked about social issues versus not. There was a lot of social issues, right? There was a lot of wokeness. Wokeness is dead. Wokeness is gone.
Yeah, this is a good take.
Also trying to
Here's the thing. If you think Trump is a fascist like Hitler was, then you have to accept that this is a ridiculous thing to do. In response to Hitler's policies, some members of the German left party wore purple hats. Do you see how stupid that sounds?
From the president.
Meanwhile, we have hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have not been showing up to work. My administration will reclaim power from this unaccountable bureaucracy, and we will restore true democracy to America again. And any federal bureaucrat who resists this change will be removed from office immediately. Because we are draining the swamp. It's very simple. And the days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over.
Yeah, I didn't see Elon Musk standing and cheering for that. Listen, I think that the president met his probably many of his political imperatives. He touched all the hot buttons that he touched during the campaign, and particularly on, anybody can get a cheer by saying, I want to cut government bureaucracy, I want to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. It's when you get into the details of what you're cutting that it gets stickier. And certainly there's a strong feeling in this country about immigration and the border, and I thought he leaned into that. Some of the social hot buttons, I said earlier, there's no doubt that, it scores an audience. Scott calls that common sense, and I'm sure he scored with that. But the biggest single issue facing people in their lives is the economy, and what we've seen is that 75% of the people think the economy is fair or poor.
Here's the interview Al Green gave to C-SPAN after getting kicked out, okay? Fuck all this noise. Let's take a look at what he did, okay?
Sir, what were you shouting to the president?
The president said he had a mandate. And I was making it clear to the president that he has no mandate to cut Medicaid. I have people who are very fearful. These are poor people, and they have only Medicaid in their lives when it comes to their health care. And I want him to know that his budget calls for deep cuts in Medicaid. He needs to save Medicaid, protect it. We need to raise the cap on Social Security. There's a possibility that it's going to be hurt, and we've got to protect Medicare. These are the safety net programs that people in my congressional district depend on. And this president seems to care less about them.
I love that.
And more about the number of people that he can remove from the various programs that have been so helpful to so many people. It is the best way to get it across to a person who uses his incivility, against our civility. He is a person who has consistently been used incivility against civility.
So do you think have no mandate? Is that what you said?
Well, look, I'm willing to suffer whatever punishment is available to me. I didn't say to anyone, don't punish me.
Dude, Democrats are so desperate.
But it's worth.
Look, you see that? Dude, I'm telling you, the Democratic voter base, like liberals are so desperate for someone to just be like, fuck this shit. Okay, look at that. It has 40,000 likes in 2 hours. I'm telling you right now, they need elected representatives to actually do elected representative shit. Okay? And sometimes, yes, that involves being a little disruptive. The base is so desperate for any sort of motion in the direction of actually resisting against Donald Trump, actually speaking out about the cruel nature of his policies, his administration's idiotic actions. What? Did Pop Save DM you again for another analysis? What? I have no idea what you're talking about.
To let people know that there are some of us who are going to stand up against this president's desire to cut Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security.
So were you saying you have no mandate? Is that what you just said?
That's what he has no mandate to cut Medicaid. None.
Is the only punishment that you were kicked out, sir? Is there something?
I don't know. Whatever the punishment is, I'm not fighting the punishment. This is about the people who are being punished by virtue of losing their health care. This is the richest country in the world, and we have people who don't have good health care. We've got to do better. And now we're about to cut Medicaid, which is for poor people. Health care has become wealth care for many people, and we can't afford to let that happen.
Is that the only thing that you're protesting?
No, I have other things I'm protesting. And I'm also working on my articles of impeachment. This president is unfit. He should not hold the office. 34 felony convictions, 2 times impeached.
Sir, tell me one more time what you were shouting in the chamber.
That he has no mandate to cut Medicaid.
That's what you were
That's my goat. That was great. That was great.
saying over and over. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. He said you have no mandate to cut Medicaid. And he's right. He's absolutely right. He's right. It's a disastrous policy. Yeah, I saw this. Hakeem Jeffries, there's nothing we can do. I'm going on a book tour. Serbian parliament. Chaos in Serbian parliament as opposition sets off smoke grenades and tear gas to protest against the government. Like, look at that. Look at how good things could be. Just anything, dude. Literally anything. Just give me anything. Okay, maybe don't deploy smoke grenades because I feel like America can't deal with that, but isn't the Greenland statement the craziest takeaway? I mean, he kind of like backed down from saying he's going to take Greenland. He just said if Greenland wants to join us, they can. Which weirdly enough is like, I guess, nicer than saying we are going to forcibly take Greenland. Greenland is now ours. You know? Also, this would probably kill half of the I'm not going to say it. I'm like legitimately worried. I'm self-censoring now. I can't use analogies. I can't use the term KILL ever again because God forbid lives of TikTok in between calling for the execution of like doctors who administer HRT will take the time out to fucking complain about me, you know? And then XQC and Asmongold will make 8 YouTube videos being like, I can't believe Hasan would use such radical language again. So glad we legalized comedy. No, he's wrong. The president does in fact have a mandate for the American people to govern and do what they elected him to do. He won the Electoral College and won the popular vote. He literally has the mandate. No, but okay. If we're going to get down to the semantics of this point, he's not saying the president doesn't have the mandate to run the country. He's saying the president doesn't have the mandate to cut Medicaid. And as a matter of fact, he didn't run on cutting Medicaid. He ran on preserving Medicaid and Medicare. Okay? So what are we talking about? He's doing a bunch of stuff. He ran on, I don't know what Project 2025 is. And now he's doing Project 2025 to a T. Okay?